and Human Life present the Humane Society of Yuma. Every day is a battle for the lives of Yuma's homeless pets. Every day, the Humane Society of Yuma cares for over 200 animals. Without your help, many of these animals won't have a chance.
The Executive Director of the Humane Society of Yuma, Annette Lagunas, talks to us about the American Pit Bull with a special report to follow.
So we do see a lot of pit bulls here. These dogs are great dogs. The majority of them are great dogs. And so a lot of people will say, but don't they bite? Don't, oh, so-and-so's pit bull has bitten before, or whatever the case may be. But if you think about the number of pit bulls that we have in our community, of course they're going to be the ones that bite because there's so many of them. Pit bulls are great protectors. They love their families and whoever they're bonded with. So it's really important that when you do think about adopting a dog or purchasing a dog or getting a new dog, that you think about all the breeds and don't dismiss any one breed because of things that you'd heard in the past. The majority of what gets euthanized in these shelters are pit bulls. So it's not just Yuma, Arizona. There's many states that are fighting this very same thing. But the dog is a great dog. Chihuahuas bite often. Chihuahuas don't like their hind end touched. They don't like to be grabbed around the waist. So there's many characteristics that a small dog isn't going to appreciate. I've seen poodles bite. I've seen labs bite. I was bitten once by a lab. So there's many, many, many reasons a dog bites. Shelters all over the country, not just Yuma, Arizona, are realizing that pit bulls are great dogs.
Every dog was created for a specific purpose. The pit bull was created to be the best fighting dog ever created.
Old-time pit bull breeders around the turn of the century, if a pit bull showed man aggressive, they curled the dog. They killed the dog off because they didn't want that in their line.
This is not a dog that was created to be aggressive towards people. And so, the love that it has for people is unparalleled.
There's a lot of hard work goes into making one of these guys bad.
If you have an owner that wants to use the dog as a weapon, the dog itself can be used as a weapon.
I don't apologize for having a politically incorrect dog. It's a dog. It's going to act like a dog. It's not going to be a monster if you don't allow it to be a monster.
Well, sadly enough, the American Pit Bull Terrier is being eliminated from a lot of different countries, and it's a crying shame. That was the first dog that ever lived in our White House, and we're going to keep it alive. Jefferson had it. Jefferson had two of them. He was the first one to live in the White House. They get a bad rap on TV. It's terrible, because with the number of dogs that we have out here registered, there should be hits all the time, according to the news, and there's not.
There was a mauling in Denver where a pit bull attacked a child and it died. After several years of litigation, Denver won the right to ban pit bulls. In San Francisco just recently, a baby was mauled, and within a few weeks, the local legislator came up with legislation to ban pit bulls. And now California is trying to figure out what to do with this pit bull problem. A pit bull jaw does have approximately 3,000 pounds per square inch of power, whereas the strongest of the breed, like a Rottweiler, is about 1,000 pounds per square inch.
The dog is what he is. They can't pretend to be something that they're not. If the food is good, they eat it. If it's not, they stay away from it. If they're interested in something, they go forward. If they're afraid, they go away. We look at the way nature has designed them, and we respect that. Well, we must respect what nature has done with the bully breeds also. Our duty is, if we're going to have them, to understand the way their mind works. Nature has wired the dog to live a life that's based on hierarchy, not on a life that's based on equality. The mentality of wolves is where it comes from, because dogs are really wolves in dogs' clothing. They have a pack mentality. This is what has kept them alive for this period of time. Dogs that come to me are generally what we consider to be the bully breeds or the man stoppers. Man stoppers meaning German Shepherds, Doberman Pinschers, Rottweilers. These are the dogs that are generally used for personal protection dogs, and that's why we call them man stoppers. And then we have the bully breeds, which can be the American Bulldog, the Pit Bull, the American Staffordshire, and so forth. We call these the bully breeds for a reason, because generally they are bullies of other dogs. Every dog was created for a specific purpose. The Pit Bull, because it was not created to be a pack animal or man stopper, it was not made to be aggressive towards humans. Pit Bulls were created to be aggressive towards other animals. So then the question comes, then why are we having so many Pit Bull attacks? Why are Pit Bulls attacking people? Well, this is a dog that you have to make aggressive towards people. Because humans are used to personal protection dogs, they take a dog that is so beautiful, so menacing looking, they clip the ears to make it look more so, and they beef him up to make him look more dramatic, and then they teach him to be aggressive towards people. With the Pit Bulls, there was a time that you can jump into a backyard, and I don't care what age the Pit Bull was, you can just pick him up and take him. That's how docile he was towards humans. But now, the new age, changing the reason that this dog was created, this is why we're having a big problem in the world with dog biting. It's the people.
This breed is probably no more victim of the violence that it goes on with pit bulls than the pit bulls themselves. It's actually part of some gangs' initiation rites to just beat up a pit bull. Pit bulls have a unique problem in the way that they've been bred in the last 400 years. Human beings started using animals to fight each other.
The following program is rated TV MA. It contains graphic medical procedures and is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Dogfighting, it grew out of contests that were held in Old England between dogs and other animals. And when those were outlawed in 1835, fights between dogs, as opposed to between dogs and a bear, became more popular. It's not normal that any dog fight its own kind to the death. That's abnormal in an evolutionary sense, and it's anti-survival as far as a species is concerned. Pit bulls have been bastardized in the sense that they've taken that survival skill of the dog to show submission and thrown it out the window. I mean, if a pit bull shows a sign of submission, the other dog's going to kill it. And I think that leads the dog to fight to the point that it's beyond exhaustion, to accept injuries that other dogs would never submit to. So to breed that out of the dog is totally against nature. In the old days, we rarely heard about one of these dogs of this breed biting a person. And that was because the last thing you want when you've got two dogs in an arena is one of the dogs going after a handler or the referee, who are also in the same arena. These guys get right down up close with dogs where they can actually talk to them while they're involved in the fight.
Yeah, make him cry, boy. Make him cry. Make him cry, Papa. Make him cry, boy. Yeah.
So a dog that would, possibly turn and bite your face was not going to be tolerated. But you can't have it both ways forever. In the cases where we've had terrible maulings or dog bite-related fatalities, the highest percentage tends to be pit bulls or pit bull type dogs that have some fighting background. It's not the dog's fault. It's the person who bred the dog to be that way and conditioning it to be that way. I really worry about that kind of person being in society because there are clear connections between animal cruelty and abuse of people. We've tried to categorize dog fighters at the various levels. At the lowest end, but at the most prevalent end, is what we refer to as street level. Gang affiliated. There's a lot of that going on. Unfortunately, at these levels also, we tend to see dogs that are considered highly disposable. They can be had cheaply. And when you walk into an animal shelter these days and you see 50-60% being pit bulls, many with scars, open wounds, those are the dogs that are coming from that environment. But at the very top end of that would be professional fighters who have yards of dogs, frequently anywhere from half a dozen to more than 60 dogs on a yard. Dogfighting itself has just become more sophisticated. Today we see dogfighters setting up contracts online. They're pretty bold about the kinds of adjectives that they'll use in describing the dog. Athletic, the way we like them. All of those are very thinly veiled attempts to let potential buyers know that these dogs are intended as something more than a family pet. Fighting dogs are kept at the end of a chain which is attached to a car axle stuck in the ground. And the dog spends most of its life walking around with the chain wearing down all the vegetation there. So very easy to spot from the air. The fights that they're involved with involve other nationally known figures. They're typically involved in high stakes, tens of thousands at the low end, hundreds of thousands into the high end. It's funny because when you go on a raid in one of these things, the dogs that you encounter on these fighting yards are wagging their tails and they're bouncing up and down and 3 feet off the ground with 30-40 pounds of chain. And they're all excited to see you, and for the most part they're not going to bite any of the police officers. I've never seen that happen. Well, I think the dogs are really just happy for the attention, because if you look at the dog's whole life, he's got his 3-inch collar and his 40 pounds of logging chain, and that for the most part is how that dog is going to spend the rest of his life. It's not a life. It's not the kind of a life that you would wish on anybody. Do we make heroic efforts for an individual fighting dog who's had a terrible life up to that point? We want to be able to say, we saved these dogs and we're going to turn them around, and that's human nature. You can't do it. It's just not a happy ending. This is a situation where nobody can guarantee that one of those dogs will never come back and bite somebody, and if they do, every agency associated with that event is going to be sued. We live in that kind of society. The kindest thing that we have to do in these situations is put them down and condemn the person that caused this. Make sure they're serving a real bit of prison time. That's the only way we're going to stop this stuff from happening.
Do they bite? Yes. Do they show aggression to people and other dogs? Yes. Have they maimed and killed other people? Yes. But so have many other dogs. Dogs that have been created to do that specific thing.
Animal aggression and people aggression are two different things, and they generally don't mesh together. You usually have one or the other, particularly in this breed, and it's generally geared towards other animals. But if a pit bull dog brings aggression, it's fast, it's quick, it's violent, it's all of those things. Wow. Is it controllable? Absolutely. But the training, the control that you instill in that is your brakes. Unfortunately, a lot of the pit bulls out there today, they're really fast cars. They're big SUVs, but they have no brakes at all. They have a lot of go and a lot of power. And they can go over anything, they can mow it down, but they just don't have the brakes.
And I'm sorry that might hurt the breed in any way. I have too many pit bulls. They're being bred by irresponsible owners to be aggressive. We want to stop the breeding of these animals. If you own a pit bull in the city and county of San Francisco, then it must be spayed or neutered. We're just overloaded with the breed.
The statistics of dog attacks reflect the popularity of the breed at the time. And right now, it is of crisis proportion how many pit bulls we have. People don't realize that Chihuahuas bite more people than any other breed. The top 3 are Dachshunds, Chihuahuas, and Cocker Spaniels. Pit bulls account for a very, very small number of serious attacks over the country. And if you look behind the facts, most of the injuries that people have suffered from pit bulls are from breaking up a fight between a pit bull and another dog.
The primary reason that pit bulls are getting a bad name is because of breeders. 5 years ago, there may have been 100 pit bull breeders in California. Currently, at this time, probably 10,000. There's no sanctioning authorities on dog breeders. So anybody could just buy 2 dogs and subsequently start breeding, it ultimately leads to all of the problems that we have.
He's a good girl.
If we don't take responsibility for the breeding of the animals and somehow curb just the vast numbers of dogs that are being put out on the street, the breed will be banned and ultimately taken out of society. What I would like to see is a qualification for a breeder that can say that this person has understanding of vet medicine, breeding, nutrition, behaviors, and they've taken a course, they've passed it, and now this person is a professional, just like you could say someone is a professional in another area.
These are good babies.
I've been breeding for 25 years at this point. This is solely what I do. I'm a breeder of the American Pit Bull Terrier. Now, do I recommend that just anybody off the street has a pit bull? No, I don't. Do I believe that pit bulls are vicious animals? I do not believe pit bulls are vicious. I think they have a capability because of their makeup to do damage when in the wrong hands.
They'll do just about anything you want them to do. And so if you put that in the wrong hands, then we have a problem. I have a problem with people that try to sugarcoat what they are. Their background comes from a fighting history. They get a hold of something and they're into it. The damage is quick and it's violent and it's quite frightening if you're not prepared. When you watch them wrestle in play with one of their playmates, you see why they're the #1 fighting breed. I mean, they're good at what they do. They're strong, they're powerful, they're quick, they're agile. Like I said, there doesn't have to be a reason for these dogs to fight. Sometimes it's just the pure love of it. And the game dogs have that very, very strong within them. How many dogs do you estimate in America today? Ballpark figure. 52 million plus. More and more people today are getting dogs specifically for personal protection or home protection or business protection. If I go to a yard and there are multiple pit bulls, that's a red flag for me. Because they were bred to be aggressive towards other dogs, if they're not aggressive towards other dogs, I go, Every situation I've been in where a pit bull did bite somebody, it was side by side with another pit bull dog. Who wants to take a bite? Volunteer? I think a lot of what happens out there in some of these attacks is it's not necessarily the dogs going out hunting for someone to bite, it's what the people do. The people don't even realize that it's their actions and motions that often trigger the attacks in the first place. There you go. Good. Good. Yeah, good boy. Oh, his eye's red. Straighten out your arm. Straighten out your arm. The worst thing you can do is run from a dog if it's chasing you. So I think, stand your ground. Equal or greater, never below. Capon couché. Pas bouger. I've always been involved with animals. It was horses first, and it was my husband who had pit bulls when we were dating. And one thing I wanted to do for sure, because my husband's pit bulls were so out of control and always in trouble, was obedience train the dog. That was kind of the beginning of it for me. And it was several years later that I got involved in the protection sports. I'm training him in French simply because I'm competing in French ring sport. Around the house, it's just, hey, get over here. But for formal training, it's more of the commandos. Capone, tabu. Pas bouger. Right now, Capone is the only pit bull in North America to have the French Ring 1 title. Thank you. Good boy. It's a sport that is dominated by the Belgian Malinois. They were bred for it, and they excel at it. Malinois are definitely the premier sport dog. They're fast, they're quick, they're easy learners, they're fun to train, they're just really super smart. I love a bubba. I just like doing it with them though. I've always liked doing it with the alternate breeds just because people say they can't. I want to show them differently that they can. And it's not because the dogs aren't capable of it, The sport is difficult in the handling aspect. You really have to know the rules. If you say the wrong thing at the wrong time, regardless of what the dog did, 0 points. So that can be a little discouraging to some people. I love Capone. He's probably one of my favorite dogs in the world. He's different than anything I've had in the past. He loves to train. He's not the fastest dog. He's not the best ring dog. He tries real hard. He's a good jumper. He's obedient. He's controlled. He has an incredibly hard bite. And for a lot of us in dog sports, the dog's biting style is often taken into consideration. It's important to keep in mind with all of these dogs that are doing sport work, we don't teach them to bite. The dogs already know how to bite. We're teaching them the control and when it's appropriate to bite and when it's not. The dog's not allowed to bite until the decoy hits the handler. If the dogs bite hands or feet or faces, they're not welcomed into the sport. So we want dogs that are very clear on the equipment. This is a game. This is like a sparring match. It's not for life or death. Some dogs just cannot stay within the rules, show power and control. They got one or the other, but not both. Another thing about the pit bulls, you know, I've raised these dogs for 20 years. I've never had one try to bite me. I've had my Malinois snap, I've had Rottweiler snap, I've had Shepherd snap, but the pit bulls are stable. You know, they were once known as the nanny dog because they were so good with children. Powerade, yeah. Some people that do French ring sport, their dogs are also quite efficient at personal protection as well. My dogs aren't. I didn't get them to protect me. I got them to work with and to train and to show. I don't know if he would or not. I like to think he would, but it's not a priority for me.
Of course, you do have a little bit more element of danger in some of your urban neighborhoods. So those people tend to get a dog to protect their yard. The dogs end up breeding, then they have a litter of, say, 8 to 10 dogs that they don't know what to do with.
What are you going to do? You're going to take that dog to the shelter, you know, or you're going to just, in some cases, turn it loose on the street, which is even worse.
If you look in the city shelters now, about 80-90% of the animals are pit bulls.
These are not dogs that anybody wants, and they're being euthanized, and that's a huge, huge problem.
That's not because they're horrible animals. It's because there's overbreeding. Unfortunately, because they do make this presentation of machoism and toughness, they're in communities where they're less conscious about overbreeding. And so you go into inner cities all around the country and the packs of animals that are running loose are pit bulls.
This is South Central Los Angeles, and a lot of things happen in South Central Los Angeles. I don't want to walk around with a gun or a knife in my pocket expecting something to happen, but I do want to be prepared for it.
Let me go get my gun.
Jeff is going to get his gun. Master Canine is a club that I want to help other people train their dogs. If a person wanted to buy a protection trained pit, me personally, I wouldn't really advise it. You know, you have a lot of trainers out here that's not training that dog the proper way. To teach the dog the proper way, you can't do it in a year.
Drop him right there. Drop him.
You know, it just takes, 2 or 3 years to get a properly trained protection dog.
Stay.
Having a biting dog and don't have the obedience in it that you should, to me, that's not a protection dog. Gator is a pit bull pup. He's probably about a year old. Gator has a bad attitude. He hasn't been socialized. Take him out there and walk him around a little bit. He's dog aggressive. He's people aggressive. He's a beautiful dog. He just has a bad attitude. Really, he's a danger. Today we're going to try to calm him down a little bit. If you see something like that and you have a chance to correct it, it's a fun thing to do. To me.
No.
Okay, all right, let's bring him over here. We're not making him mean. We're taking it, trying to take it from him.
Right. No!
Walk him again, Art.
Heel! No, baby, no! No.
Well, I told you he was a problem.
No. He's a problem. After we get through working with him, he's gonna be okay.
It could be a number of things that made him the way he is. He could have been on a chain all his life with his puppyhood. He could have been agitated from people as a puppy coming up, facing them off, having people tease him. The main thing is that he wasn't socialized. He wasn't allowed to be a puppy. I don't think it's bad blood because Archie has his sister too, and she's not like this. So to me, it kind of looks like a human error. I don't blame it on the dog. I blame it on the person not socializing the dog enough or taking him out, exposing him to different things at a young age. And Arch just got him not too long ago. He did not raise him from a pup. Let's do it one more time, Arch. Then take him off and play with him. You have to keep doing this and keep doing this till he realizes that the person is not a threat to him. And as it goes on, I'll find out what he really likes doing and I'll start having a little fun with him. But right now, the thing is for me to get close to him. A pit bull, he is the warrior of all dogs. But if you socialize him, then he's just like any other dog. You're supposed to raise a dog as part of your family. And if you can't do that, then you don't need him.
Johnny knows what he's going to do. He's got his pulling clothes on and he's anxious to get going. These guys just love to go out and pull. Boy. Most ever he's pulled. 4780. Give him a month or two and he's ready. I'd say right now he's just a click off the two top dogs are right now in the room. To go to Colorado next month, I've had to file for papers to give me a 24-hour pass to have my dog in and out of the city of Denver. And once my pass is expired, it's illegal for me to have this dog at the place where they're going to have the pull. The breed-specific legislation does frighten me.
If we don't take responsibility and somehow curb the numbers, the breed will be taken out of society.
It's the people. It's not the dog.